Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Happy Sunday to each and every one of you. Wow, what's going on at the market right now? What's going on at the market, fam? Holy moly, Flare Networks. We're going to get into the latest X spaces, as I like to call it. Little recap. Little recap. Hugo's doing this thing. He's doing this thing. We're going to get into it. I'm going to share my thoughts on his evolving as the CEO. It's interesting for sure. Look, the market's tanking. It's crazy. We're going to go over some stuff on crypto X. We'll cover some numbers from CoinGecko for sure. Should Ripple distance themselves from the XRP entertaining content creators? Should they distance themselves? I don't know. Interesting stuff. And there's a difference. There's some XRP content creators, and there's some XRP entertaining content creators, as I like to call them. Should they distance themselves from the latter? We'll get into that for sure. Interesting. Interesting. I'll give my thoughts on why they should consider it. I know David Schwartz got called out on it years back. He got called out on that question years back, like, yeah, a tough situation for sure. Go over the numbers according to CoinGecko. I don't know what to make of this post from Smoke Dog in this video. I don't know what to make of this post. Well, I guess we'll cover it. I don't know. Institutional documentation, breakdown of why XRP will lead this upcoming alt season. We'll cover that. Open Eden. If breath of fresh air on X, we're going to cover that as well. Open Eden. A breath of fresh air on X. T-Bill provider for the XRPL. We'll get into that as well. They responded to a post of mine because I asked them a question, or I made a statement about their kind of announcement of the T-bills on the XRPL. And yeah, it was interesting. And I did that only because Vet had given them some flowers on some stuff. So I said, let me see if they'll do the same when I post. So we'll get into that as well. Crazy, cray. Should Ripple distance themselves from the XRP entertainment content creators? Has more harm than good been done because of not doing it? We'll see. We'll see. We'll get into that. We'll get into the numbers as well. What's going on, Steve, for the home loan experts? Life is good. What's going on? I hopped on that Spark Dex, provided some little liquidity over there by way of Scepter, my guy, by way of Scepter. We'll get into that as well. You know, life is definitely good. Go over some stuff on Crypto X. We'll go over these numbers. Again, happy Sunday. Open Eden, interesting on X. Very interesting. I'm going to cover my post as well. And but I do want to recap this the latest spaces with Hugo hosting. And it was the way they handled the whole thing, I thought was great. They got in the Q&A kind of like immediately. I like the way they handle it. I don't know who this new other co-host dude was. Usually it's Flare Community, but it was some other guy. Dunes, I think. I don't know who he is. But I like the way it went. And I really want to give Hugo his flowers. I think he's taken on the challenge as being a CEO, never been a CEO. And yeah, I want to give him his flowers because he's been he's been doing his thing. It's not easy, trying to lead a team and direct and give a vision and come up with a mantra and understand who you are and where you are and dealing with people. Trust me, I built a marketing and sales team in the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Not easy, leading, things like that. So yeah, I just wanted to give him his flowers. It's pretty cool. Him evolving as a CEO. has been pretty cool to see, to check the journey out for sure. So yeah, let's get into it. What we're going to do first, I guess we'll go over CoinGecko. It's a market, baby. Any of you guys go out there? I joked last night about on the live stream yesterday. I joked about, I'm about to go cut some lawn. Like I just rid myself of all my dirty, nasty fiat like 4 days ago. And then we get more of a downturn in the market. I'm like, dude, I'm going to cut some grass. I'm going to knock on some doors to see if people need that grass cut. You need their car washed just for some extra dirty, nasty fiat. Good night. Anybody out there go make some money today just to buy some BTC at 58K? Holy smoke, colas. Holy smoke, colas. Yeah. Anyway, let's go with CoinGecko. Steve says Spark Deck is nice. Look, this stuff is early on. We can't forget. Kinetic, Spark Decks, that stuff's early on. And I gave Spark Decks to people over there. I gave them some props on my last couple of videos because I got to tell you, first iteration looks really smooth, works really smooth. Got to give them some love. What's going on? Be more careful. What's good with you, bro? Life is good here. Life is freaking good. As I like to say, I serve an awesome God. I serve an awesome God. All right, let's get into it. Let's go over CoinGecko and see what's good with the numbers. And we'll let a couple more people hop in before we kind of do a little recap of the latest or recent spaces with Flare Networks and Hugo and their decision to shelve shelve LayerCake and put all their attention and focus on blockchain for data and AI. And like I said on my streams the first time I covered it, I thought it was a smart move. Thought it was a smart move to do. We talked about the blue ocean strategy. Maybe he's been reading the books I've been recommending. All right, so let's get into it. According to CoinGecko, the total cryptocurrency market cap is down 2.5% in the last 24 hours, and it's currently at, holy smoke, 2.18 trillion. 2.18 trillion. August historically has been not a great month for the digital asset space, historically. And here we have it again, especially in the quote unquote halving year, but it's actually just a business cycle. All right, so Bitcoin is trading at $58,984 again, and on the 30 days down 4.2%. Ethereum is at $2,744 again, and on the 30-day it's down 8%. Solana is at $141. $141. And I'm going to make a BTC purchase like right here while I'm doing this thing. I'm telling you, I'm going to do it. Yeah, do it. What is the, yeah, do it. While we're doing this stuff here. And so $141.6 for Solana. And on a 30-day, it's up 5%. XRP is at 53 cents, or as we like to say, 53 cents. And on a 30-day, it is up 24.5%. I'm not going to go on the Solana ecosystem. I know you guys don't like me doing that. You don't want to see Hive Mapper up 37% on a 30-day. You don't want to see Jupiter Exchange up double figures on a 30-day. I know. So I'm not going to cover it. I'm telling you right now, Steve, I'm getting a little Solana vibes from the freaking Flare Network ecosystem. I'm getting a little Solana vibes, a little community centric, a little, let's put some useful apps on this chain. Yeah, I'm kind of getting that. I get that sense of community first, and let the institutions come when they come. That's kind of, it's kind of, I get it. I get that vibe from Flare, I'm getting that Solana vibes from them guys over there. That's the market. There it is, fam. You guys want to see if you're holding the assets that are outperforming Bitcoin? We can check it out here on Banter Bubbles. free to use. You just go to bannerbubbles.com, you change the settings to BTC. Right here, you click that, and you make sure down here is settings. It says BTC. And you can check, I'm going to refresh this. Did I refresh it? I think I did just refresh it. Let me refresh it again. And, see if you happen to have anything that's outperforming Bitcoin year to date. I got it on the yearly, And I just personally believe that during this current time and phase of the bull run, if you're blessed enough to have an asset that is currently outdoing Bitcoin, I just think it's going to continue to do it. You just got to notice that it's only a few out of, I don't know how many tens of thousands. It's only a few out of, I don't know, tens of thousands. I'm going to go over these big green circles first. We got WIF over here, 22,628%. This is dog with hat on the Solana chain. We got Brett at 9,100%. 9,100% is compared to Bitcoin versus Bitcoin. 9,100. That's the base. That is the meme coin on base. And I don't know if Brett was first, but it was right around the first one. Another meme coin. You got Bonk, 2,977%. And that is a meme coin in the Solana ecosystem. And then we got, and this is an OG player. This is Mantra. This is an OG from the Cosmos ecosystem. 2,100% versus Bitcoin. Those are not bad numbers, right? And then I'm going to cover the 100% or higher as well. So we got 1, 2, 3 meme coins and layer 1. All right, so let's see what can we find here that's 100%. Arweave is right at 100%. It's AI play. I don't know if that's storage or what with Arweave, but I believe it is an AI play there with Arweave. Floki, I think, is another meme coin, but I don't know, honestly. It's at 186%. Undo, the RWA play, which is down 30-something% on the 30-day. Do I get BTC or do I add to the Undo play? Let me know in the chat what you guys think. Do I get more Bitcoin or do I add to my position and Undo? Yeah, let me know what you guys think. RWA play with Undo. Again, this is one of those platforms where, the only way us protected American investors can participate is to buy the token. You can't buy the product as an American. Unless I think it's accredited investor stuff. I don't even know if it's even accredited investors can hop on it, to be honest with you. Undo at 121%. Jasmine coin. We took $1,000 play on this one. 202%. RWA play, Internet of Things. It's the Jasmine play. They're saying it's an Internet of Things play. Pepe, another meme coin. Ethereum meme coin. 248%. Marinate Solana. It's basically, you can get some Solana, you can go to Marinate, you can stake it. 226% Marinate Solana. I got some of that as well. So I got some Undo, some Jasmine, and some Marinate Solana. Not bad. Then, of course, Solana is 204% compared to Bitcoin. And the Open Network Ton is doing its thing. Telegram. It's good to see Telegram recoup and recover and respond to that madness that is the SEC. Good for them. And then Fetch over here, AI play. I think it's like 3 of them now, right? AGI, Fetch, and some other thing. 135%. I'm only covering, by the way, 100% or more. So if you got something at 50 cents or 60 cents, it's better than not being in all the reds that are going on. Like BitTensor's at 72. I mean, that's not bad. Caspa over here is at 82%. That's not bad, but I just wanted to cover the 100% or more. So there are. It's not a whole lot. I mean, think about it. Including the memes, it can't be 12. I'm going to try to count this and not mess up. I'm going to try. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm talking 100% or more. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I feel like, I mean, MSO and Solana, I feel like that's just, it's really the same. It's kind of like S Flare and a Scepter Flare and Flare. So, I mean, it's really like 11 out of tens of thousands. Isn't it 20,000 something altcoins? And what are we going to do? We're gonna pick the right ones. Yeah, see, but you got Solana and you got Jasmine Coin and you got Ondu. Yeah, I'm full time in the space though. I can get into the minutia. Still only got 3. I didn't get any of these meme coins, not one. And I own 2 meme coins. I didn't get any of those meme coin plays. I didn't get 200 and something percent gain. Dog with hat. It's tough in them streets. This is why, the numbers are out. The narrative, the formula has been spoken. You get these layer ones that give you net year over year return. Right now, it's about 4. In my research, about 4. About 4. And I'm going with 100% or more since 2020. It's 4. Since 2022 is only actually 3. Ethereum has fallen out of 100% or more. But again, it's 74%. Like people got year over year. Is big money walking away from that? Heck, no, they're not. Plus, they've taken a percentage of that and they're staking it as well. So they are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Maker currently. I believe we're going to have a Mag 7 in the digital asset space, just like we have in traditional finance. And right now, I say there's 2. I'm not sure we can count Solana yet. I mean, 3 years, 4 years, I don't know. You got to be in a game a minute. I mean, 4 years, I'm taking a year over year return, but Mag 7, I don't know. You gotta be around for a minute to get in there. So I think that it is Bitcoin and Ethereum right now in the Mag 7. Doesn't mean you won't be able to get a year over year return. Like, for example, with Maker's got a year over year return. It's an OG. Maybe Maker slides ahead of Solana in terms of the Mag 7. Maybe he puts Maker ahead of Solana in terms of the Mag 7. It's not giving the year over year return. It's an older thing, It's kind of quiet, keeps to themselves, but it's not giving 250 to 300%, but it is giving 100% year over year. It is you participate in the ecosystem. You do get some yield for holding stables. I think they reward the DAI holders with some interest, I believe. Just something to consider. Just something to consider. Do you got one of those things or no? All right, let me get back to the chat and welcome some people on before we get into some of the crypto X stuff. And I promise you, we're going to go over Hugo's Flare spaces here for sure. All right, what we got going on? Bubba Smith is in the building. What's going on, my guy? Afternoon to you. Steve says, I heard the Hugo space. Good stuff. He's incredibly intelligent. Yeah, he's a smart guy. Being a CEO is more about being smart, though. Takes more than being smart. If Hugo finds a way to monetize data in Web3 space, Steve says this, if Hugo finds a way to monetize data in the Web3 space, Flare could blow up. Remember, that's how Google did it. They monetized the search 100%. And 100%. So Steve says Bitcoin, not Ondu. Get more BTC, says Steve. I hear you, my guy. So, yeah, interesting. Flare Networks, Hugo, again, I wanted to give him his flowers for sure for evolving as a CEO. I really wanted to do that for sure. All right, let's go with some crypto X stuff. For sure. And I posted that I was going live on X also. what's the name was like. And Steve, thanks so much for sharing. I know you do that often on X. I appreciate you sharing the live stream. Jungle Inc. at the end of the live stream last night, he's like, dude, post more, people, let people know you're going live. Give them make announcements. Because I was just doing the posting on YouTube. But I did post about it on X as well. Let's go over some of this crypto X stuff. So again, this, anyway, this is from a dude called Smoke Dog. It's 9 minutes. I don't know. It's an interesting post, but I don't know. It says here, institutional documentation breakdown of why XRP will lead this upcoming alt season. Altcoin season. When Bitcoin and ETH prices start to correct after breaking all-time highs, liquidity begins to rotate into cheaper altcoins. It's typical stuff, standard stuff. It's how it works, right? Providing even greater returns than Bitcoin and ETH. Yeah, we know this. This first of its kind analysis abundantly illustrates the institutional perspective of altcoin season and how institutional capital will flow into crypto tokens like XRP. Now, I guess it depends on what you're saying institutions are, because from my research, the big players in this space are hanging out in Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe Solana. Now, it doesn't mean that something like Pantera, I mean, if you're considering Pantera's institutions or, things like that, if you're saying the VCs, but from what I gather, first of all, institutions are not even in the space. And if they're coming, it's in Bitcoin primarily, and maybe dabbling a little bit with Ethereum. They're still trying to figure out what Ethereum is. So institutions going down the risk curve, investing in XRP and Cardano and Solana, BNB? Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. Not currently. Not currently. Maybe a basket. We get some baskets of some stuff. Maybe they'll delve a little bit, allocate a little bit into some baskets if we get a top 10 basket. But anyway, that's kind of how I see it. Open Eden. I meant to post it. This, this is like a breath of fresh air here with Open Eden here on X. And I got this from Vet. And I wanted to respond. I did respond to Open Eden's kind of, post and excitement about T-bills on the XRPL. So let me see if I can find that. Oh, Steve already posted it. Thank you, my friend. 8 Mile to a Millie posted as well. Hope you're well, my guy. All right, let me find it. Let me share my initial post. And my initial post, they responded to right here. Says, why is that? So I said, because they said, there's their announcement here. We're delighted to announce our tokenized U.S. Treasury bills are now supported on the XRPL ledger. T-bill tokens are now accessible by our app, by qualified XRPL users who are accredited and institutional investors. Not excited about that. Via stablecoins, including the upcoming Ripple stablecoin, right? I'm like 85% of the world would not be or will not be able to access this product. And I said, tragic. And he said, why is that? And I responded, accredited and institutional investors. They responded with, we're cooking something. We're cooking something. Can't say much now, follow us to stay updated, you'll understand why. Now, am I not following? I am not following. What's going on here? There it is. And I say a breath of fresh air because the willingness to interact and, go back and forth. And I think it's important. I think it's hugely, hugely important that they did that. Now, I got the sense of they would do that from Vet. Vet gave them some flowers and thought it, and refreshing that they willing to, have a back and forth. And I don't know what they got going on there. They got someone dedicated. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But a healthy back and forth with the community is important. A healthy one is important. It really is. And Ripple X could learn a thing or two about that. Like it's lacking there, in my opinion. It's lacking. Anyway, so Open Eden put this out about RWA. It says, you still don't get the RWA narrative? Read this. Do you want more liquidity coming on chain? Yes, we do. Not just liquidity, we want the active users and increase in wallets to go up, right? It's a formula to create demand for the asset. It's a formula. TBL draws builders, sure. We want more active users with something to use on the chain. It's a formula for creating storage demand. It's not guesswork any longer. It says here, do you want more liquidity coming on chain? Just 13 companies on the S&P 500 hold over $1 trillion in cash. That alone is 40% of the market cap of all cryptocurrencies today. Do you want more diverse sources of blended yield for DeFi products? Yields are like coffee. Most of what you drink isn't single origin brews. There are good reasons why having diverse supply chain is better, whether for yields or coffee beans. Why can't I just buy T-bills on a Web2 brokerage? Well, you can. You can go to like Treasury Direct or something like that and get some of that stuff. If you're in the US, you can do that. Why can't I just buy T-bills on Web2 brokerage? It says, good for you. Many DAO treasuries, maybe he meant good news for you, I'm not sure. Many DAO treasuries, market makers, and funds with hundreds of millions of dollars cannot. Maybe that's outside the US stuff going on right there. Anyway, many small, medium businesses around the world cannot easily open corporate brokerage accounts. There it is. Think bigger. He was responding to this Yvonne guy. And they continue to interact. A little back and forth. Never hurts. Friendly stuff. Open Eden says, to be clear, Ivan, we're curious why you would disagree. In your own words, stablecoins and DeFi yields have been plagued by the functional reliance on some unstable primitive. We're solving this, says Open Eden, by bringing T-bills, one of the most high-quality liquid assets on chain, and into DeFi. Algorithmic stablecoins based on delta neutral strategies or loans to market makers work until they don't. Crypto had to respond to that. I didn't know that. Says, I think you just dropped the mic. Then they got this little, but real talk, we spit bars only when people come at us with snark. I didn't see this. I'm just seeing this today. So that even validates a breath of fresh air from Open Eden. I like it. So in any case, willingness to have a back and forth, a friendly back and forth is important. You don't have to agree. You can agree to disagree, but that back and forth is important. It shows that you care, not that you're above the community. You see content creators making posts, never respond to the post because they think they're above the community. And the community are just sheep. They just keep going and keep going to the same people who paid them no mind, who use them for views and comments and clicks and everything else and sponsorships. Yet can't take a second to acknowledge the community. It's a tragedy. It really is. I think I just combined travesty and tragedy together. I said it's a tragedy. But it is. It's a travesty that content creators respond or don't respond. It's a travesty. It really, really is. And I feel bad for the people that follow those dudes who don't even acknowledge their community. It's brutal. It is brutal on the streets for sure. All right, let's get on to the next thing. Oh, by the way, Jupiter DAO, the vote passed. Did you guys get a chance to vote with an asset that you hold? It's the fact that you hold an asset in an ecosystem value. You got a chance to participate in some kind of voting, like you can with FLR, like you can with Songbird, like you can in the Cosmos ecosystem, like you can with Jupiter DAO. It's a pretty cool deal. I voted. It says here, the vote passed and the community has decided 3 billion jupe will be burned from the supply over time. It's going to take a period of time to do it, but they're going to do it. Some is coming from a fund that they have for the community, and other one's coming from the holders, the original people, whatever we call those people. What do they call them? I don't remember what they call them. We also saw a record high turnout of 274 million jupe stake, because you got to stake in order to vote. There's something about having a DAO with the right intentions that's creative, that puts the community first. There's something about it that grows an ecosystem. Something about it. We talked about this. Ripple X keeps acting like it's too late. Or someone is directing them that the idea of a DAO and taking the onus from Ripple, a company, and putting it on the community is going to be the end of the XRPL. But that, in my opinion, is one of the biggest challenges that they have, is not having a DAO for the XRPL and the native asset XRP. One company being a gatekeeper before proposals are heard. Not a great look. It's just not a great look. Or it could be a better look. It could be better than that. Than that setup. It could be better than that setup. Ripple don't wake up in the morning trying to harm anyone, but it could be better. It definitely could be better. All right, so what else? We're gonna go over. Let's see what else we got on X here. Let's see if you guys want to hear that. Yeah, let's go over the spaces too. Let me find the spaces first and go over it. I was listening to it earlier today, and let's go Flare. Find the spaces. It took like 500 million hours before they got started, like with this music. Was interesting. This is a 3-minute and 13-second thing, but let's go through the whole thing. All right, so I got it there. All right, let me share. Just want to make sure I covered everything I wanted to cover. Raul Paul says, this big sloppy range in the majors is really due to massive supply changing hands from the last cycle and longer. Last cycle problems, FTX estate, Mt. Gox, Germany, GBTC, and now Jump. Jump trading is apparently selling. Plus new project unlock slant tokens. Big deal. This too shall pass, and all the major overhang will soon be digested. All right, so let's get into the spaces. I know you guys are waiting for it. Let's get into it. I'm gonna try to skip through this thing. I can, but through this music, but I'm just not certain that I can. So please be patient. Let's see. That music right there. See if I can.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our community call. I'm John, community lead at Flare, and I'm thrilled to have everyone here today. Joining us today are Hugo Fillion, Flare co-founder and Flare Lab CEO. And we also have Dinesh Pinto, product lead, along with Flare supporters Dan and Kermit. And I know we still want to get Dan up here as a speaker. In the meantime, we have an important agenda covering 3 key areas today. So we want to talk about the LayerCake decision, then highlight Flare's data advantages, and provide updates on DeFi and F assets campaigns. So while we're talking about these things, we encourage you to leave your questions in the comments throughout the call, and we'll do our best to address them. Hugo, you want to go ahead and kick it off and talk a little bit about the decision around LayerCake?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. I'll talk a little bit about the decision on LayerCake, and then a bit later I'll talk about what it means to hyper-focus on data and why. So look, just very briefly with LayerCake, what I tried to get across in the tweet I put out that announced that we are discontinuing work on LayerCake, the following. Flare is a network and has always been from day one, and it's on Web2, a network focused around providing the most decentralized, the most secure, the lowest cost, and the easiest to use data protocols. Ultimately, where we've come to with LayerCake is the following. All of the functionality that LayerCake represented, or at least the functionality that people seem most concerned about, which is the insurance aspect, can very easily be covered by the data aspect. What does that mean? Well, LayerCake was designed to have what we termed insurance, but was actually really just the security guarantees of the bridge, which was that there was enough funds to cover the amount of tokens that were bridged the whole time. And that essentially there was a challenge system if a bad bridging event happened, which allows for essentially to cover that loss. Well, when you have data, when you have the Flare data connector, you can go and get data from the networks that the Flare data connector is connected to, such as Ethereum, Polkadot, Solana, Cosmos chains, whichever networks the FTC is connected to. And proofs can be given around things like, what's happening on a bridge. Has a bridge had some kind of issue? And so there's another way to cover that kind of loss that could happen from an insecure bridge. And that would be through building a dApp that uses Flare's data. And I'll come on to why we're hyper-focusing on data, but in essence, we've always been building a platform to have the best data in the space. Our decision around LayerCake is that it diverts our resources, both intellectual, business development, marketing, grants, technical, engineering, financial, all of those aspects. LayerCake would divert that from focusing more on being the best platform for data. And the opportunity in data is vast. So I'd like to leave that there.
Absolutely. I think that's a great explanation. We do have a few questions from the community. If you want to jump on into those. What does this mean for the distribution of the cross-chain incentive pool now? And will it be exclusive to F assets users? And how will this impact us as network participants?
Absolutely. So no, it won't be exclusive to F assets users. Parts of the cross-chain incentive pool has already been earmarked through governance for what we call FIPO9, which is a relatively small emissions program to incentivize people to bridge, essentially to incentivize people to bridge tokens through Stargate onto Flare. Stargate being, we've recently partnered with Layer 0 and Stargate to provide bridging services from other smart contract chains to Flare. And that FIPO9 essentially distributes tokens to dApps on Flare. Principally, those dApps will be handling funds that are bridged, both from Stargate and tokens that are native to Flare. So, for instance, to give you a concrete example, let's say there's a DEX pair and it's a Flare USDC pair. That dApp is rewarded from the emissions pool for that pair and can give out those emissions as incentives for people to add liquidity to that pair. So principally, the emissions pool is for DeFi, principally for tokens interacting with Flare from other chains.
Awesome. Kermit, looks like you have a question.
Yes, hello, Hugo, hello, everyone. Understanding the importance of adapting the project to rapidly changing industry and abandon LayerCake probably was a tough decision. But as you mentioned, Hugo, you're allocating the more resources to build more important stuff. And my question is about the famous quote, ship everything in 2004. Is that still the case and we can expect delivery by the end of the year?
I mean, absolutely. We've been shipping like crazy. We're in the process of we shipped the FTSO V2 on Songbird, and we'll be, shipping it on Flare fairly soon. FTC State Connector already exists on Songbird. FTC is coming down the pipeline. Really, the only other thing we need to ship this year would be F assets, and that is very much on track.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Well, if I may ask another one about F assets, where we are at the moment with the public testing of F asset, and when we can expect them to go live on Songbird.
So we are gaining a lot of insights in the testing. We're understanding a lot about how redemptions work. For instance, that we've built a bot to handle redemptions. We've been looking at essentially the volume of redemptions that are coming, through the network. We're understanding, where there are things that need to be, massaged, made better. I don't want to give a commitment to when it will launch, right now, but it will, unless something terrible happens, like the entire technical team at Flare dies, it will launch this year.
Thank you very much.
All right. Dan, did you have a quick question?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. And I just wanted to say also, just to give you guys from Flare many kudos for what you have achieved so far. I think you do an awesome job, and it's amazing that you just keep pushing to deliver these protocols. So really well done. Just one question quickly regarding LayerCake. Just to finish that question completely. Does this mean that LayerCake is actually completely buried now, or is it more like you have put it back on the shelf? So maybe later on it could be used in maybe in a context where you would use it to bridge F assets to other networks, or how do you see that? Is it over and out with the LayerCake?
So our partnership with LayerZero, which is connected to I think 25 plus chains and 55,000 applications, means that it's illogical for us to try to compete with that. They've already done so much work to get connected with these chains. It would make a lot more sense to bridge F assets using a LayerZero style bridge, or even if Stargate were interested in supporting the F assets directly through Stargate. Now, I think it's really important to understand that when LayerZero started, we would not have been comfortable with their security model. So LayerZero V1, we would not have been comfortable with their security model. They have moved to LayerZero V2, and Stargate has moved to Stargate V2, which is in essence, a modular security model. What that means is that they have networks of decentralized verifiers, and a dApp that is building on LayerZero, and Stargate is a dApp that has built a bridge on LayerZero. It's a very, very successful bridge, one of pretty much the biggest in the space. And what that means is that they can select a DVN or a combination of DVNs to allow to basically verify the messages passing across chains. And that's very valuable. And when it came to something like F assets, we would be very interested in being one of the DVNs for the F assets, if not the DVN for the F assets. So it's 100% parked. Whether it ever makes a return, I think that's has a vanishingly small likelihood.
Thanks.
Great.
Thanks for the answer.
Sorry about that. Great. I think that actually segues us really well into the next question that we had from the community is, are there more meaningful partnerships between Flare, LayerZero, and Stargate?
Well, absolutely. LayerZero is a messaging protocol, meaning it just allows you, it's like a messaging standard, just allows you to pass messages between chains. This is very, very interesting to us because they're already connected to so many chains. It's very interesting to us in being able to pass our data, the outputs from the FTSO, outputs from the FTC, Web3, Web2 data to other chains and charge a fee for it. I'll come on a little more to that when I talk about why it's important for us to be hyper-scaling, hyper-focusing on data. But ultimately, if someone's already done the immense work to connect to all these chains, and we have the ability to take advantage to it, so we could offer data on those chains for a fee, very rapidly rolling out across many chains, because that capability already exists to get the message across. That to me would seem like a very obvious way that we could partner with LayerZero. So.
Nice. We have a couple more questions on LayerCake. Are the collateral types and ratios of F asset ratios? Have the collateral types and ratios of F asset ratios been affected by this decision with LayerCake?
So I know that's a question from the community, and it's a little bit garbled. So I'll try and answer what I believe that means. And no, LayerCake has no impact at all on the collateral ratios of F assets. That's the two are completely unrelated. F assets uses a combination of stablecoin collateral and FLR for its security. So no, absolutely not.
All right, this last one is a pretty open-ended question. So Flare now loses a function as bandwidth collateral of LayerCake. Are there any new utilities for Flare?
So that's also erroneous. Flare never ever had any form of role in bandwidth for LayerCake. I don't know why that seems to have been something that has come up. Each LayerCake bridge would have been collateralized by whatever it was bridging. But there's really there wasn't more collateral in the bridge than has been bridged. So it wasn't, it really didn't have it wouldn't have had a major effect on the supply and demand of FLR for a very specific bridge, which would have been FLR to some other network. So it wasn't like FLR would have been collateralizing tens or hundreds of bridges across different chains. That was never the case. So I think that's just if you're trying to think about, okay, well, what does this change mean for the Flare economy? It means nothing.
Thanks for the clarification on that, Hugo. So I want to go ahead and move on. I'm going to try to get all of this agenda packed into this one meeting. Hugo, you mentioned that Flare is the blockchain for data. We're building a full stack solution for developers to build intensely feature-rich applications. This includes an enshrined oracle for fast decentralized prices, the FTSO, an enshrined oracle for data proofs from other blockchains and Web2, FDC, and access to verifiable off-chain compute. Can you break down a little bit further? Tell us, what are the problems that Flare is trying to solve here?
Absolutely. So here I'll try and articulate why I want to focus on data, why I want the Flare team to hyper-focus on what we're doing in data. And then I'll pass it over to Dinesh for verifiable compute. So let's start with the following, knowledge. Flare does data better than any of the competition. And this is our advantage. This is our huge advantage that I want to essentially take to the game and play extra hard. And why do we do this better? Well, there are 4 key differences. One, Flare has the most decentralization. In terms of security model, it has the highest proportional security. It has very, very low cost, entirely free for most of the data that we have. And it has an ease of use for developers that is in some ways unmatched. So let me just try and break those 4 things down. On decentralization, at last analysis, on Chainlink and PIF, between Chainlink and PIF, the worst supported feed they had 5 data providers. And between the 2 of them, the best supported feed they had 31 data providers. And they don't have meaningful staking mechanisms. So between 5 and 31, the ability to pervert that data is huge. And Flare has 100 data providers, all providing data for every price that exists on Flare, all of them, with the weight of the stake. So on security, I said, there's really minimal staking methods. Ultimately, it looks like, but is difficult to prove, that there's a sort of favoritism around nodes within those systems based on, relationships, rather than it being purely permissions. To give you an example on Chainlink's current staking mechanism, I believe they have about 7% of the Link token staked. To compare this with Flare, we have 67% of our token dedicated to securing our data providers. And that's just vastly different. And so, if you take the decentralization and security, these two elements taken together mean that the consumer of that data is really just trusting that system versus trusting the technology and the economic guarantees that sit behind the technology, which is the central ethos of our space. On cost, we can provide data at lower cost for a number of reasons. To give you some examples, data streams in Chainlink cost a few million a year. That's huge. Because we've integrated the data and the Oracle and the network and the layer 1 token into a single network and a single infrastructure role, this means that we can provide data for free, because when people use it, that provides value to the network. That is not the case with a third-party Oracle provider. It doesn't provide a third-party. Chainlink is not Ethereum, so when people use Chainlink's data on Ethereum, they're providing value for the Ethereum token. They're not necessarily providing value for Chainlink unless Chainlink has a token for which you have to pay for or in some way use the token to consume that data. So we can provide, because the data is integrated into the network, the use of our network creates value for the network. And then ease of use. When you're looking at data feeds on other oracles, you have to look at, okay, how many providers are providing this data feed? As I said, the max was 31 and the lowest was 5. This means that if I'm a developer, I can't just look through a list of prices and go, I'll use that price. I want to build something that uses this price. It means I have to look through a list of prices, then I have to go dig in. How many people are providing this price? Is 5 people enough? 5 people is never enough. And what's my risk if I build a product around this? How much money will people lose if I build a product around this, it becomes successful, and there's 5 people providing the prices? That's essentially means that a developer also has to become a risk analyst. And that is the opposite of ease of use. So we've built a system that markedly is more true to the values of blockchain and demonstrably better than the competitors. So that's kind of the first aspect. We already have this advantage. We've built it. Now, why do I want to focus on it? Well, the opportunities in data are very, very extensive. As I said, just the functionality of LayerCake insurance, that can be replicated through data. And the other big opportunity is to provide our data to other blockchains, both the price data and the Web 2 and Web 3 data. But I talk a lot about data, so I'm going to try and make it a little tangible with some examples. Obviously, you know about DeFi data. Kinetic, who are on this call, are launching their lending markets next week. They're using the FTSO to make sure that their lending markets essentially hold enough collateral against what's been lent. SparkDex, which we announced not that long ago, are launching a perps protocol that's using the FTSO. Flare Labs, me, we're launching the F asset that uses the FTSO and the FTC state proofs, being able to prove what has happened on Bitcoin, what has happened on XRP. And we've just seen a DApp launch that is, on Costum, launch a prediction market for the Olympics, probably thereafter for other things, but that's, a use of Flare's data. And just within the existing DeFi space, those protocols can be used, as mentioned, for insurance to create complex financial products that couldn't be used before. Other examples of things like swaps. Flare's data can replace entire swap networks that exist, with a simple smart contract. Other data that just, can be supplied, things like additional finance data, stocks, bonds, commodities, indexes. This allows real world assets on Flare, and it allows them to do more. The lowest hanging fruit for this kind of data would be something like proving the underlying, i.e. proving that a real world asset protocol does in fact have possession of some asset. Can also create enhancements in existing DeFi dApps, like perps on NVIDIA. And there's things like social dApps, where you can prove something from Twitter or Facebook to achieve something on the blockchain. Gaming can prove the result of a matchup between players to reward them. Things like compliance can prove that an entity did a KYC check on a customer before transacting with them, because I have the proof of the KYC check, then I have the proof of the transaction, and the sequential in the blockchain. I can prove identity to contribute to an on-chain ID. In things like AI, I can prove that a model gave a specific output for a specific input attested on-chain at a specific time. And then I can use that output to do something on-chain. Simple example. When matched with an on-chain ID, the proof coming from an AI model could be a credit score to allow unsecured lending to happen on-chain. That's a huge opportunity. These examples are, very off-the-cuff examples, but these are multi-billion-dollar and in some cases multi-trillion-dollar markets. And as I said, Flare's data is cheaper, more secure, easier to use than the competitors. Cheaper and easier means that developers can innovate and iterate on use cases. More secure means they are more confident to start building with Flare's data and stick with Flare's data. So when I say we're going to hyper-focus as an organization, what do I mean? Flare has two data protocols, the FTSO, which provides prices and time series data, and the FTC, which provides proofs from Web 2 and Web 3. We've just upgraded the FTSO so it can handle 1,000 series, updatable every block. It has a payment module in it so that when data carries a cost to obtain by the providers, this cost can be paid for by the users. We want Flare's data on other chains, as I've said, for a fee, and we want to get adoption for it. This requires technical integrations, marketing, business development. That's work. We want to allow developers to add new data types to both the FTSO and FTC easily with minimal fuss. This is not currently something that you can do. It's not that easy. So it's a substantial technical challenge, but perfectly feasible to make this happen. And most importantly, we want to ideate on novel new use cases for data. We want to find partners that provide that data, find people that want to build products around that data, and go through the business development and grants process pipeline to help foster those use cases. These are things that are part of hyper-focusing, and they would be made very, very much harder if we had to handle another protocol and support another protocol and get another protocol to be successful, like LayerCake. And now I'll pass it over to Dinesh to discuss, an area that we haven't discussed, I haven't discussed so far on verifiable compute.
Hi, everyone. So one can ask the question, like, why can't we build, Instagram with a blockchain backend, right? And the simple reason is that blockchains don't actually scale very well. And this is true regardless of which blockchain you look at. To take a simple example, we can consider if you wanted to store 1 gigabyte of data on Ethereum, it would cost you around 60 million. If you wanted to store 1 gigabyte of data on Solana, it would cost you around 10 million. And if you wanted to store a gigabyte of data, it would cost you 27 cents. So you're comparing basically 27 cents against tens of millions. So the question is, how can we combine the best of both worlds? How can we get the security, the decentralization, the verifiability that we know and love about blockchains, and still we get the high performance, data-heavy, data-rich use cases that we can get with something like Google Cloud. And the solution to that is basically verifiable off-chain compute. And what verifiable off-chain compute does is it uses something called a secure hardware enclave, which is basically an isolated component of a processor, which means that this component is effectively isolated from everything else in the CPU and the rest of the computer. So as an example of this, you can take a look at your iPhone or your Android phone, and all your private information, like your Face ID data or your Touch ID data, is actually stored inside these secure enclaves. And the idea here is that if we can combine this with a blockchain tech stack, you can actually unlock a completely new world of heavy compute, heavy data use case that were previously never possible before.
Awesome. That's super comprehensive, Dinesh. I really appreciated the real world numbers there on that, on the cost per data. Let's go ahead and move on to talking a little bit more about the progress of the FTSO and the FTC. Can we get an update on both of these technologies? Oh, sure, yeah.
Kinetics had their hand up for a very long time. Let's see what they have.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you. I was my arm was getting so tired. I know this question's going back, but I think I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this while you're here. You know, I'm really excited about the news with bridging. I'm really excited about the integration with Stargate. My question is, are you guys either working on or open to the concept of a faucet for the bridge that would give users who don't want to, who are bridging directly from another ecosystem, a little bit of Flare, just enough to cover like a transaction or two. So they don't have to go buy Flare on a centralized exchange. They don't have to worry about, you know, getting that over if there's like time or, you know, it's friction for people to, you know, hopefully bring liquidity to our ecosystem. So is kind of a small faucet something that you guys have considered or are interested in? I feel like it would just, you know, reduce a lot of the headache that is associated with bridging assets over. And, you know, we would obviously love to have more liquidity in our ecosystem.
Yeah, so I think, you know, if I'm completely new to Flare and, you know, I want to bridge from Ethereum, I want to bridge some stables from Ethereum to Flare, you know, and I get my stables into an address on Flare, and, you know, I have a tiny amount of Flare so I can move those stables, do something with them, you know, put them in a DApp. I think that's a great idea. You know, obviously we don't want to have a very, very large amount of Flare dedicated to that, you know, really tiny amounts of Flare. But I think, you know, it's a good idea to incentivize usage. Then, you know, once someone's played with it, they can go and get more Flare however they want to do that.
Right, and you could limit it by wallet, right? It can only work once, or you could, you know, set a threshold so that, you know, if it's $100, $200 or more, you know, they don't get their little amount of dust. But there's a lot of different ways you can kind of gate people abusing it. But
Absolutely.
if you just had a little bit, you know.
You know, I think you'd have to set something, as you said, like, you know, if you want a tiny bit of free Flare, you've got to bridge, you know, a meaningful amount.
Well, awesome. Great to hear that you're open to it. And, you know, as is common in crypto, I expect it immediately now.
Yeah, well, I'll completely tell the team stop working what they're working on and do that. I'm joking.
Thank you. Thank you. That's, I mean, you know, is that really asking so much?
Probably not.
All right, I'm looking forward to the win faucet comments from Kinetic in the future. Moving forward, yeah, let's touch on the progress of the FTSO and the FTC so far. Hugo, can you take us away on that?
So I think actually Dinesh would be great to go for that. He's much closer to the technical team.
Yeah, I can go through the bullet points for progress. So on the FTSO side, the voting phase for the FTSO upgrade has now been completed. And after the upgrade, FTSO will support up to 1,000 data feeds. And these feeds will be updating with every block on Flare. And as you're probably familiar, a Flare block happens roughly every 1.8 seconds. So you have 1,000 feeds that can update every 1.8 seconds. With scaling, we have 19 new feeds that are up and running currently on Songbird. And the rewarding for fast updates on Songbird is also live. On the Flare data connector side, This is also an enshrined oracle for data proofs from other blockchains and Web 2. And the team, as Hugo had mentioned earlier, they just built out an Olympic prediction market to demonstrate how FDC can be used to relay Web 2 data and execute the payout.
Great. And this may be something that we're, rehashing here, but I do just want to touch on it. Wanted to get your opinions on what are Flare's enshrined oracles and data solutions' biggest advantages compared to other blockchain data solutions?
Well, I think I've been through that. But I'm interested to hear maybe from Dan, Rocky. Actually, why not Andrew? If he's up there.
Hello. Yeah, definitely the cost and security, as you mentioned, Hugo, before, there's 100 independent data providers on the network comparing to the other networks. They don't have that much participant in the network, so that's one of the things. And other, you mentioned cost of the data. So and the data provided are not linked to the token. They are not secured with the token. So
100%. So it's four things: decentralization, security, cost, ease of use.
Great. Moving on, we're going to touch on DeFi emissions here. So in FIP 9, it proposed distributing a small portion of the unused incentive pool for the DeFi emission program. What are the goals here for the emission program?
The principal objective is to incentivize liquidity on Flare. We're now getting quite a sophisticated DeFi ecosystem. Shout out to all the DeFi builders, including Kinetic, who are on the call. We want those systems to be used. They need to all work together. In order for that to happen, there needs to be liquidity. This is an incredibly important aspect of standing up a DeFi ecosystem. So we're providing emissions in order to essentially incentivize people to move from Ethereum, to move from L2, to move some liquidity from Cosmos, lots of other chains to Flare, to take advantage of the yields that those applications offer and the additional yield that we're providing in order that essentially they start using Flare, they become familiar with Flare, they understand Flare. Essentially the way to get it all going.
Yeah, and I definitely agree that stable liquidity is super important. I think of something it's an oversight for a lot of people is the importance of liquidity itself, and that it's kind of what makes all these systems work. Do you want to touch a little bit on the importance for liquidity for Flare?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we can take one example of the FAsset. The FAsset doesn't work without stablecoin liquidity, without FAsset liquidity itself within the DEXs on the chain, and without FLR liquidity. You've got to be able to get in and out of the assets relatively easily, that have large amounts of liquidity, in order to make the security model of the FAsets work.
Great. And then we also have some upcoming news around DeFi emissions. So it looks like we have a few ecosystem partners coming on board. And then I don't know if you wanted to give some examples of DeFi plays that are coming up.
Absolutely. So, so far, the emissions protocol, the committee have agreed to give some emissions to PlaySwap and SparkTech. Coming up, we're going to be giving emissions to a Gnosis, Braindex, Kinetic, Clearpool, and Scepter. So, some examples of things you can do are things like bridging USDC or USDT to Flare through Stargate, swapping some of that value for, wrapped Flare on SpotDex or BlazeSwap, and then add liquidity in equal values on those pools in order to earn the incentive from the protocol and the emissions incentive that's coming through the protocol from the FIP09 emissions program. You could also swap, bridge stables, USDT or USDC for Flare, and then deposit them, on Scepter, deposit your Flare on Scepter in order to get the Scepter staked liquid staking token. Once you have that, you can then deposit that on Kinetic to lend it, and you can borrow assets against them. For instance, you could stake staked Flare, or essentially borrow against your staked Flare on Kinetic for USDX. Then you can deposit that USDX in Clearpool to earn the yield that Clearpool gets from treasury coins, US treasuries.
I think this is a really good opportunity to open up to some questions from the other speakers.
Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to cover that, and definitely recommend checking out that. Let me put that recording. Can I do that? Hold on. I can, oh yeah, I can right here. Put this in the chat for you guys. That's the recording, a link for the recording there. So again, I wanted to recap the spaces with Hugo for sure. And just kind of give him his flowers. I think, for me, with his evolving as a CEO, I think is tremendous. Hold on a second. But yeah, definitely want to give Hugo his flowers for sure. For me, just checking out his progress and him evolving as a CEO. I think it's pretty cool to see and watch and observe. And I'm rooting for him for sure and the team. I think that they got a lot of things right. I think their focus on community is evident. You could say it's first, you can say it's second, I don't know, but it feels it's evident that there's a focus on the community for sure, and serving the community, and sticking to the ethos of decentralization, security, scalability. I think it's massive. Understanding what their strengths are and focusing in on that, I think is massive. Again, these are CEO things, and he's been doing an awesome job. I remember the early days, and so I watch his interviews as well. And it's good to see that the team is doing their thing. And in the long run, I think we're blessed as XRP holders, for sure. And as investors, it's up to us to gain value from it. It really is on us as investors. Trading, that's another thing. But if you're here to invest, like I'm here to invest, for me personally, I see the big time value add there. And they still have to prove themselves in the market space, right? In the marketplace. But I'm looking forward to seeing it, to see them, get to it for sure. I'm really looking forward to that. And I'll be an active participant because I think it's important. As an investor, I think it's important for me to do my part and helping to create network adoption, right? So, you know, I did exactly what he just mentioned there, right? I participated on Spark Dex by way of Scepter, and staked there on the liquid staking, took the liquid staking S Flare and put it into the Spark Dex. Again, wanting to be early on Spark Dex, I think, is important, and for me, and we'll see what's good with Kinetics. We'll see what's good with that, and I may do some clear, you know, I don't know. Anyway, the clear pool, the USDX thing, you know, we'll see how it goes that, because you know, yeah, you know, with the USDX thing. So we'll see how that goes as well. Well, shout out to Hugo on the team. Who knows where the ultimate utility for XRP is going to come. You know, who knows where it's really going to come. So it's going to be interesting to see when it all launches, you know, when it all does launch. Don't sleep again, on my opinion, on Whois Finance and the XRPL ecosystem. Personally, I would not sleep on them. It's just me, you know, go over there, see what's good. I've been there, provided liquidity. I'm staking root tokens on the root network. But I would definitely not sleep on Whois Finance. And the great thing is, most of the times, and is better than or. Don't make that mistake like the supposed adult in the room did 2013. Don't make that mistake. How blessed are we that we have choices? We got choices. We don't have to be beholden to one asset or ecosystem. How cool is that? All right, Alex Reed's in the building. Yo, Siege, just caught the live. Appreciate you checking in. Always appreciate your perspective. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that, my guy. So there it is. Shout out to Hugo and the team doing their thing. And shout out to Open Eden, this T-Bills thing for the XRPL. I know they're in the Arbitrum space already, providing some stuff for the Arbitrum DAO. But I, you know, let's give some props and flowers to Open Eden for a little back and forth on X, willing to do so, willing to engage with the community, not hiding behind cancel culture and Twitter police nonsense, and willing to have a back and forth, valuing the community's input. You don't have to agree with it, but value it enough to have a little back and forth. So shout out to Open Eden for doing that. All right, fam, there it is. I'm gonna hop off here. I think I got some tennis to watch, man. I got some tennis to check out. I think so. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. But I do think I got some Olympic tennis to check out. All right, Alex Wright, Keyless, Bubba Smith, I appreciate you guys checking in as always. The Blue Ridge just checked in. EDDO, I appreciate you checking in, my guy. Pookie and Jack of all trades. Steve, I appreciate you guys checking in on a beautiful Sunday. As always, the real Big Will. Appreciate you checking in. Steve, I'm going to check another one of your videos out, man. Guys, Steve has a YouTube channel, by the way. Don't forget, Steve. What's the name of your YouTube channel, Steve? I watch your videos on how to do stuff with Clearpool and what's your YouTube channel? Let me see if I can find it. I feel like I find it by accident because I can't. Is it Steve for real estate and crypto? I think it's Steve for real estate and crypto. I feel like it's Steve for real. I'm trying to find my history. I was just watching your channel yesterday, trying to decide on this USDX thing. We got a liquid staking protocol coming to the XRPL. Don't forget about that as well. It's coming. It's Lotus protocol. Let me see if I can't find Steve. Is it for crypto and what is that? And real estate? Something like that. Steve, did you tell us your YouTube channel? I want you guys to go follow Steve. That's not it. Did he tell us? He didn't tell us. I'll make sure I find it next time and share it for sure. Appreciate you guys. Do me a favor, guys. Hit that like button on the way out if you didn't do so on the way in. That would be super, super cool. We always like to have just as many likes as we have viewers in the stream. That'd be super, super awesome. It helps to get the channel out to more people who don't know that there's a new financial system being built right underneath their nose. They don't even know about Flare Networks or the XRPL. They don't know. It's just a travesty. So do me a favor, hit that like button on the way out. That'd be super, super cool. And if you enjoyed this hangout and other hangouts, please consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to ring that notification bell, baby, so that you know whenever we go live or whenever we upload a video. I'm going to end this one like I do all my videos and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. That's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. And I would ask you to consider this, perhaps ponder the idea or notion of living your life permissionless. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. Bye. Bye.